Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening and welcome back to the Gavin and Marvin podcast. My name's Marvin and this person that you're going to hear in a second is Gavin. Say something, Gavin.
Gavin.
Yeah, as you can tell, he's not English. He's Welsh, which is a province down to the southwest, of England. It's actually not part. Anyway, we'll try and get subtitles, but being a podcast can be difficult unless you're watching on YouTube. We'll have subtitles, but what we try and do on our podcast is just get on with it. We're not going to do a 20-minute discussion about what we've just done in the last month, unless it's relative to what we're going to talk about. So let's just get on with it, Gavin. How about
Shall
that?
we? Shall we? Well, we've only had everybody does the same thing at Christmas, so there's not much to talk about, really.
No, exactly. Happy New Year. All right, we're carrying on. What we're going to talk about today is structuring a program or workout based on you want to get started. Where do you begin? Is it you go to the gym? Is it you go for a swim? Is it you go for a run? Is it that you walk a dog? My dog's for life, remember, not just for Christmas. So that's the kind of thing we're going to go on. So I guess the best thing to do is we're posing the question of what is the first thing you should do? Is cardio right for you to begin with? And we're basing that off the fact that at time of recording, it's January and lots of people are now running. We've seen it already. You go out in the car, they're all doing it. So is it right? Now, I'm going to attack this from a running point of view, make sure you've got the right things. And I'm also going to talk about the weather because I'm English and English people only talk about weather. But Gavin, I'm going to start with you and we're going to talk about the body and getting it prepared for this. Because as an event, it's the equivalent of dropping a piano on your legs a million times.
Can be. Like, to be fair, right, you've got to think if running is the only option that you enjoy, and that's the only, if you're adamant that's the only type of exercise you're going to do, that's totally fine. But you're going to have to break yourself in gently if you haven't performed any exercise for a period of time. Because obviously you're going to be putting a lot of force through the joints, especially the knee joints and the ankles and so on. Like even as far as the low back, if you think about it. So it's not just going balls to the wall, David Goggins style, like let's go for it, stay hard type of thing. Like I get that. It's great inspiration and stuff, but at the end of the day, if you're in a position where you're in so much pain you can't move, then you ain't getting anywhere. So I think there's better things you can do to prepare yourself to go running and do it well. If you think about it, like I'm a big, like everybody that's listened to the podcast for any period of time is going to know that I love weight training, and I think it should be a part of everybody's training regime if they're gonna take up training. I was even chatting to a person that wants to come on board with the coaching. He wants to do an Ironman. So I actually spoke to you about it the other day. I was like, fantastic, no problem. We can get something laid out. I'm not an Ironman specialist. I don't do triathlons or anything like that, but I do understand the strength you're going to need at certain joints and to control those joints for that extended period of time, and how strong you're going to need to be to endure that as well. Yeah. So I think having the ability to absorb all the force coming through and get strong should be a big part of that. So you could prep yourself before you go out to run. And when we actually think about it, people run to lose weight.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So is it the fact that you should be potentially looking at your diet first, basics of weight training, getting strong, and then building yourself into, like, you could still do conditioning in the gym, which is less impact, right? So there's ways to condition yourself without potentially risking injury and having sore joints and and demotivating yourself, thinking, oh my God, I'm getting on now in life or whatever. I can't do this. Well, you might just not be doing it right.
These are the things, aren't they? These people, they go out, they come out of a new year, they go running twice, they're in so much pain, they never go again. So it's kind of ironic, really, because it's exactly what we're saying. It's you've just rushed. There's a saying, isn't there? You're trying to run before you can walk, and essentially that's what this is. What we're trying to do is get you ready for it so that you can do it, not the opposite way around. You think of it, even from just a general non-training or trainer's point of view. You've come out of a period where you've probably had time off work, you've eaten more than usual, you've eaten things that you probably wouldn't normally eat. If it's a general, I don't know what it's like in Wales, but in England, we tend to drink alcohol. It's probably grape juice down there, isn't it? Or something. I don't know what it's like in your country, but in our country, it's cultural change. In our country, we tend to drink alcohol. And then So you come out of it from probably you've had different sleep patterns, different food. What I'm trying to say is your body's not in the right frame of mind to do
no
it.
way.
You know?
Yeah.
And that heavy weight, what it comes down to is your feet are going to be slamming into the ground when you're running, because they have to. You know, the intensity and the pressure goes through your feet and goes up when you're doing this. So what are you looking at? You're looking at bursitis, so inflammation in the heels. You're looking at plantar fasciitis. The bottom of your feet are sore, really difficult there. The pain through your ankle joints, just in general, heavier weight. You know, the joints need to be ready for the activity as well. Then you've got your knees as well, the amount of weight and force going through them. So it's not necessarily about, you know, we're not talking, it is a bit chicken and egg, but you're trying to get your body in the best condition possible. And you've got to try and get into that state first. And lastly, I said I'd mention the weather, but it just baffles me when you go into the worst weather possible in this country that people try and go outside and run. You know, even to a point where, if I just draw your mind back to last year, they did the London Marathon at a different time of year. I believe it was October, off the top of my head. And they did a virtual version as well. So they reduced the capacity of people in the event, and they did a virtual one. And my next door neighbor but 2 did it. So you registered, you got your own number as if you was doing the Virgin Marathon, but you chose your own route, 26.2 miles in your own area, and you did it. And we went out that morning, and it was really good because you could see people doing it and you could identify them from the number, but people were beeping the horns, they were waving, because trust me, from doing it, that engagement from the crowd gets you to the end. Trust me, it's horrible. So the crowd are a big factor in any event. I would say any event. If you've got a crowd, especially towards the end, those last few miles, you need them. So
you forget that I've done half marathon. I didn't do it.
Doesn't matter. Marathon. You know, you don't go to the pub and order half a pint of beer, do you? Right. So just wind your neck in. You're either doing a marathon or you're not. You don't practice it. You don't practice half marathons. You're doing a marathon. So, right, that's it from you. Keep quiet.
We'll go into that in a second. We'll go into
on to that in a minute. Now, my point is the London Marathon's unfortunately Easter, you know, springtime, April. So people have to start training now. You can't not be doing it, which is horrible. And it probably makes them more proud when they get to it, because they're going to have to endure the rain and all that. But anyway, they're doing an event. People on my street, not talking about next door neighbor too, but there are other people that are going out running because they're trying to lose weight. The road's icy and slippy. It's raining and wet. Now, I'm not a soft lad, you know that. I play sport in all weathers. But what I'm saying is it worth your ligaments? Is it worth that trauma for your knees? Because you could actually go and do this a different way. And that's, people either can't be bothered to do it or just think it's the only way, and it's not. Exactly. That's my soapbox.
And that was my point with going to the half marathon thing, because that's where people start, right? They'll do, let's say park run, for example. They start park run, fantastic, they're enjoying it. I think park run is one of the best things that people can do. Like it's got a lot of people in shape. I think the majority of people should do it 100%. But you look at the distance they're covering, it's not a huge amount. So that's pretty safe for a lot of people in terms of the volume and impact, right? But once you've done like that, and let's say you do a 10K, you're pushing yourself a little bit more. What's the next step for a lot of people?
Marathon.
They go, I'm doing a marathon. I'm like,
I can do this. I'll do a marathon.
When I was younger, I did 2 half marathons, but I was doing it. Yes, I was playing football and stuff at the time, but I was back when I didn't know better, potentially, for a sentence I should or shouldn't say, but I was doing it to lose weight, to get in shape, to drop body fat and potentially look a certain way. So even though going through 2 half marathons, I didn't look the way I expected to look. No. Do you know what I mean? So even I was using that to get inside my own head, just to give myself space to enjoy it. Yes, to do exercise, but it was to potentially get more endurance on a football pitch, for example, but it was to look a certain way as well. And that didn't come true.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
So I think
quite common.
You do need a bit of both and a good strategy in place. If your goal is to do it in a way where you're looking in a like you're changing your body shape, it has to be, in my opinion, has to be both, because you're basically, you're not giving your body that enough stimulus to keep all the muscle tissue.
I know what it's like with any type of exercise or nutritional or lifestyle change. There are initial benefits. And a lot of that is the change in the inflammation in your body and the way your body's starting to adapt to it. But we all know there's a training plateau. So you know, even if you do lose a couple of pounds in the first few weeks or maybe a month, 6 weeks, it won't mean that will carry on. And it'll also mean that what your body will do then is it'll counteract that and do, in most cases, the opposite. There's that reverse effect. So,
well, you look at it from a point of view that somebody that's overweight, right? So that people are overweight, they're going to do running. I had a friend, a close friend of mine in lockdown who was overweight, and he was struggling through lockdown. He needed someone to chat to and so on. So we used to meet up. We go for a walk. We have a chat just to clear his head and so on. It was a tough time, especially through the first lockdown. Especially you've got kids and they're stuck at home and you're homeschooling. You're trying to do your work and so on as well. And he was like, I need to get healthier. I need to lose weight. I need to do this. I said, just walk. But just walk. Like, all I want you to do is walk. Come and see me every week. Update me on how you're doing. Track your calories. I don't care what you eat at this point. Just do something that's getting you out of the house and getting your mindset right. And literally in 12 months, he's lost 25 kilos. Yeah. And he hasn't done anything different than what I just explained. Yeah. But now he's starting to realize if he wants to lose more weight, he's so efficient at the walks. Like, his times are getting quicker on the routes he's doing and so on. So his body's adapting to that. So he knows now he needs to do more. So he's like, should I run a little bit, like jogging? He said, no. So he's a bit lighter now. So he's like, I can actually run. So I'm like, don't go all out. Run, walk, because now you can speed up that process again. So the time you need to be out of the house is lower, and you can get the same amount of expenditure done in less time. But now if you still want to stay out for that amount of time that you did originally, you're going to lose weight quicker. Yeah. But his joints are starting to prepare themselves for that. Like, he's able to handle the volume of footsteps at that point, but it's slowly breaking him in across the time period with the run. So it's like, it might be 30 seconds run, 3 minutes walk, and build from there. So it might be that. But he's like, I want to come into the gym with you because he's pretty switched on dude. He doesn't know anything about fitness or exercise. He's like, if I just go out and run, I know my joints aren't going to take it. Yeah. So he said, can I come to your gym and use some of the training equipment there just to get myself up to speed? I said, we got a watt bike. Watt bike's going to be fantastic because there's no impact on the joints. Yeah. You can work your cardiovascular system. Your legs are going to get a good workout. Heart rate's going to do what it needs to do within specific zones, and you're away. Yeah. So that's an aspect there as well. If you want to potentially start running without going into the icy conditions and slipping and smashing your head on the floor. Yeah. Like, I literally nearly went arse over tit this morning in my garden, literally opening in the gym. I get up at 5. I'm in the gym for 5:30 after a shower, and I stood on the decking, and I literally nearly went backwards. Yeah. I didn't realize how icy it was. Yeah. It was dark. So somebody getting up early doors, getting out of the house, going for a run. Oh, boom, it's
just out. No way. So, the safety, you've just got it. It's the whole risk assessment thing. You know, what's the likelihood and what's the severity, and it's just the red flags for me. Because you can do it in different ways. And you know, when I did my Ironman, I started training in the August. So, and triathlon season was coming to an end in this country anyway, and the event was in May in America. So when I got to a point where I could do competitions to practice or to get into that environment, I couldn't do it because, for example, you know, part of that's a swim. Well, you can't go lake swimming in this country in most places anyway, till the temperature's risen. So I started swimming in a lake April. My event was May. Yeah. So I had no chance to get there. So I had to do it indoors. So, and there's things like that. So, and everything was out of season. You know, I had to go through Christmas, you know, getting up at same thing, 5 a.m. I was in the pool by 5:05 in some cases and swimming for 1 or 2 hours. But the point is, you've got to find other ways to do it because the risk outweighs the benefits. You know, there are other ways to do it. So what I want to do in summary is, I think we've set the scene quite well, is let's split into two halves. The first half, if you could start us off with talking about what kind of things are we doing in that gym to get us in that condition. And you gave a few there, but just the basics, top line. And then I'll also talk about when we are running, what are the things we should be wearing and considering as well. So you start us off indoors and I'll finish outdoors.
Like indoors, like you can do things that are not going to impact your joints as much. Obviously, weight training is going to help you. you could still get a nice response from weight training. You're not going to get it, like, you won't get the same benefits in terms of the physiology you want from doing weight training compared to what you would do on a spin bike, for example, or on a watt bike. It's not going to happen that way, but you will make the muscle more efficient and build the work capacity there. So you might lay down more mitochondria within the muscle, which is basically where you're producing energy within the muscle. So you would potentially lay down more mitochondria there, and you train the muscle to become more efficient. So you're getting more blood flow into it, and you can help build the capacity there. So basically you're doing higher reps or a form of weight that isn't maximal, where you're going to produce too much lactic acid, where you can't perform any more reps. So an example might be, you might do like aerobic cluster training or aerobic time sets, where, let's say, for example, you would squat, Marv, and you'd have a dumbbell, you might have a barbell. So pretty much everybody now who's been in lockdown has got a set of dumbbells at home, right? So everybody's bought some form of weight training because you've been locked down for bloody 2 years. But you could have a weight where you could perform, let's say, 20 reps max. Like, that's your 20 rep max. You physically couldn't stand up after 20. But you could do something like 10 reps with the weight you could do for 20. So you've basically got 10 reps in reserve here. And it might be that you do 10 reps every minute on the minute. Or you might pair that up with 3 different exercises. You move in a circuit where you're using a 20 RM and you're only doing 10. You keep moving and moving and moving. So basically you're getting more aerobic adaptations to the muscles you're training, which can then transfer a bit better. But you're doing it in a way where you're not putting massive impact on joints, because essentially you're not lunging onto the floor with your foot. You're just doing a squat, your feet don't move. So it's more muscular. And then on other days, you could be doing your bike work. And then over time, you would then start to build the weight up, if you're in a gym, to make yourself stronger within that same workout. So it might be that you build to a 15 RM, and you go to a 12 RM, and the reps may change over time. You might reduce the rest periods and so on, right? So I've had programs where, especially in lockdowns, clients were doing that type of condition. They would do 10 reps. In week 1, they've got like 30 seconds rest. They do squats again, 10 reps, 30 seconds rest, 10 reps again. In week 2, they go to 20 seconds. Week 3, they go to 15 seconds. So you're basically teaching that muscle to become more endurance-based.
Yeah.
So now when you go onto the road, you've done your bike work to coincide with this weight training, you go onto the road and all of a sudden you feel like a different person, because one, you've lost weight, you lost some body fat because you've trained efficiently. So less weight is less impact on the joints itself. And then 2, you built that muscular endurance. So when you go out, you build a bit of strength. If you pick the right exercises in terms of targeting the areas you need to strengthen up, like the hips, the muscles that control the knee, like the calves and the quads and the hamstrings, if you do that right, you then strengthen those muscles up to control the joints when you go on the road as well. So it's having that smart approach where you can still get 3 birds with 1 stone type of thing. Yeah. Big bang for buck. And then when you get out on the road when the weather's a bit nicer, boom, you're in a much better position.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents on it anyway.
No, they're all good points and all things I've considered many times when I was doing it as well. It's quite funny because I remember a Monday morning when I did my Ironman training, I did 46 weeks it was in total. When I was building up for that on a Monday morning, I need to get some conditioning in for exactly that purpose. I used to do a circuit class at the gym I used to PT at, and the guy that owned it let me go in there for free, because what we did was we just said, look, anyone that's coming, all the money goes to charity. And don't get me wrong, I didn't get hundreds of people there, but the ones that I did, they come in, a couple of quid or whatever they wanted, 5p, 10p, didn't matter to me. Put a bucket at the door, put the money in the pot, they come in. I never really instructed it. I put the station cards down. The station cards were all very based on what I was trying to achieve. Yeah. These are the stations that I'm doing. I'm doing a minute on each station. And then we did that. And then over time, we did exactly what you said. And we adapted the time. We looked at different, but they didn't know. They were just doing exactly what I told them. And by absolute default, people know I was doing it for an Ironman purpose, but more triathletes turned up, more cyclists turned up. I ended up building this community where I was quite, locally well regarded in those realms where I hadn't been before, but I was almost talking their language. So it's interesting. But let me just do that. Let me sort of put an end to this then, and what we're trying to do then when we get to that point where we go outside, because like I said, it's difficult for me to see people doing it, because when I drive past people, I'm thinking, oh, why are you doing that? Or why? And I question it, and I don't know the answers to it. But one of the things I thought was, let's go through what they should be doing. Start from the ground and we go up. First thing is footwear. It's just crucial. And even though there are brands out there that are fantastic brands, and you might want to get, and their philosophy is very correct, and you know where I'm going with this, Gav. There's footwear that's minimal sole to the shoes, are very thin, freely movable, and it almost feels like you're running with nothing on your feet. We talk about how the foot moves and how it needs time to breathe, and I agree with all that. But think about where you're coming from. That's all I would say. If you've never done that before and you're in a deconditioned state, although you want to get to that, should you go there straight away is what I'm trying to say, because I have so many people that have gone, I'm going to buy a pair of those shoes. They're injured within the first 2-3 weeks, because
it's like the muscle soreness they're going to get.
It's terrible. You've got to transition to it. And in some cases, I know one in particular person, just because of her gait, the way she walks, she was doing marathons and things, and she wanted to go to this minimal footwear, and it made her back worse and worse and worse. And she ended up not being able to run, having surgery on her back. It was horrific. You've got to think, if you've done it for 40, 50 years, changing it tomorrow, is it really going to change? You're changing everything, all your biomechanics, all your posture. So just be sensible on that. However, that being said, just footwear in general, tying your laces properly, wearing correct, just footwear that's decent for what you're trying to achieve as well. Go and have a look at a running shop and go in there. I don't mean go in there, and I'm not a massive fan of running on a treadmill, getting a pair of shoes that you're told that you need because your foot does something, then going outside and running on a complete different surface. There is some information that's good in that, and there's some that's just a load of rubbish. But find a pair of footwear that works for you. And then moving up the chain, I see people running in trousers and things that you just haven't got the joint movement. Really bizarre. I will say it was funny, and the guy's all right now. But I mentioned before we filmed this, Gav, that I go to this football on a Wednesday night, so I'm laughing already. It was so funny to watch, and he ended up in hospital, but he's okay. That's why I'm saying it. But
so funny to watch, Jennifer.
This guy, it's like a veterans meet up. I'm not going to give the names away. We go on a Wednesday night. It's for people like me, we just want to go for a kickabout on a Wednesday. It's pretty good standard. Mixture of ages and abilities and waist sizes and all sorts. So it was cold last Wednesday. This guy wears a pair of tracksuit trousers to wear to football. Now, I'm shorts all year round. It's not going to matter to me. It's shorts in there. Anyway, the ball's come to him. It was actually a throw-in, so someone's passing the ball to him to take the throw-in. As he went to kick it, his foot come behind. His studs get caught in the bagginess of the back of his trousers where his calf is. So then when he went to put his foot down, his studs caught. He couldn't put his foot down, so he put his ankle down first. Ended up badly spraining his own ankle and going over, being helped off the pitch. Ended up in A&E because he's suspected broken leg.
Bloody hell.
Now, this brings me back to the point I was trying to make. If you could have seen it, it was so funny. But he's okay now, and a couple of weeks he'll be fine. But
Did he pirouette in a circle?
He spun.
Oh, yeah.
He spun. Yeah, it was so funny. I made a joke. I was like, should we give him a 1-minute clap on the way off? Do we wear black armbands? I was doing all that, but we didn't know. I just thought he'd just gone over, but he ended up going home. He's fine. Anyway, wear the right equipment, because, if you're wearing things that are just not appropriate for what you're doing, silly things like that can happen. I know it sounds daft, but silly things like that can happen. So, that's why people wear it. And that being said as well, if you are going out this time of year, I can't even stress enough high vis. Not because I want you to look like a lollipop man or lady or a Zumba instructor, but going outside in the dark makes you very difficult to see for drivers. I sound a bit like school teacherish, but just wear something reflective and something high vis, because it's not just that. It's people on bikes that can't see you. And it's worse if you're wearing headphones listening to music. It's your own safety. You're going around corners. You don't know what's around there. Where I live, I've got people on horses. I have to be really careful. So I go out for a run. I see 10 horses every day, any time of day. It's all countryside. So, I don't want to spook a horse, go around the corner, end up in a shoe horse in my face. Shoe foot. Anyway, what was I on? Clothing. And then just making sure you're wearing something that's breathable. One of the things that a lot of people do, and I've said this before, I went to my friend of mine's running podcast, they layer up because it's cold, but obviously you're going to get hotter when you're going. Now you've got to get that fine balance. You can't go out in a t-shirt because you're going to end up with the flu, but you need to wear something that's breathable. And a lot of these dry fit clothing, what they do is they keep you warm, but they let your body breathe. So I try and wear as it's like lifting weights, where you're putting more weights on a stack. You're trying to reduce, you still want the weight to go up, but you can't have sort of 4 10s on a bar. You'd rather have 2 20s. So you're trying to make sure that you minimize the amount that you're wearing so you can circulate air properly. Otherwise, you're going to get 2 miles down the road. You're going to be dehydrated, you're sweating mad. So you've got it, and you can't really take things off and carry it, because then when you start carrying things, that's the next problem. People take a bottle of water and they've got the jumper over their arm. They're not swinging their arms as much. There's more pressure then on the lower back and hips. It's chain reaction. Sound like a real dad telling people off. But honestly, just wear the right stuff.
Those are things that sound so basic, but are possibly the most important, essential things that people need in place. But they overlook that.
It's because people think that they're not good enough to wear it. They're like, oh, I'm just starting off running, so I don't need to wear a high vis. Well, you do, you're gonna get run over. Oh, I'm just starting off running, so I don't need to go to the running shop and get proper trainers.
Hang on, this may even be a different podcast. But then you've got mindset, because you're starting it and you're not doing that type of stuff because you don't expect yourself to be doing it within 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a different, a different podcast. So you got limited self beliefs. I've tried this before, it didn't work, so I'll give it another shot. And then, so there's already a limited self belief there already.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but then that's a different ball game of, are you planning the attack right? Like there's different strategies. I'm talking about the like it's the beginning of the year, so I'm trying to put out information that's going to help people start but keep the momentum going. So it's like that's what we're trying to do this podcast for. Like if you're going to run, it's no problem. But these are things you need in place.
Just make sure you're doing it
exactly
the right way. Even things like keep just a basic stopwatch. Just record how long you're out for. All these kind of things. It's just they're good markers. They're indicators of improvement. And if you don't give yourself that pat on the back when you are doing well because you're not measuring it or because you don't know how to measure it, sometimes that's why people stop. So do as much as you can to record what you're doing, even if it's a basic way, just as I'm timing how long I'm out the house for. It's good enough for me. You can go on many of these map my routes or Google and find your route planner and see how far you're traveling, or even actually starting point. We talked about walking to begin with. Maybe you go out, if you've got a GPS, like a tracker or something on your watch or your phone you can use, go and walk around your local area. So you're doing almost like a little risk assessment recce first. Note the distance, make sure it's a suitable distance and place for you to run. In terms of if it's night and it's dark, can you still do it? You're not going down like a country path that's got no lights, that kind of thing. Know your route, know the distance, and then when you do get to a point where you're starting to run, you know exactly how far you're running.
When I first started that, I used to drive the route. So I try and find 3 mile loops. So I knew that if I could do 3 miles and I started the next 3, it wasn't like I got to run bloody 10 miles home type of thing. It's right, I've just got another 2 miles to go. Or even if I had to walk it, like I could finish that type of distance, right? But the first time I did it, I found a 3 mile loop and it was flat. The next 3 mile loop had hills. The next 3 mile loop had more hills. So I was basically getting the strength up in the legs that way for endurance. Do you know what I mean? So I was always doing a 3 mile loop, but I just increased that over time.
It's funny to say, I've got 3 routes that are exactly the same: a flat, a hilly, and a mixed. And I always keep 3. 1, because it needs to challenge me, but 2, because if you're doing the same route, it's just boring. It will get boring. So I have 3 routes that I do as well. And then if I do have a few weeks off and think, I need to get back on it, I'll do the flat one first and build my way up to this. So you're not always starting at the hills and stuff. So
check me out, not bodybuilder, but
Mo Farah,
ex runner now, turned like weight training, and in my old school days running. I've run for ages.
I want you in Derby on a Wednesday night so you come to this football with me.
Hey mate, I did before Christmas. We had it was like under 9s. We had a little 10-minute kickabout with the boys just before Christmas. Where Gabriel was playing.
You went on a pitch with a load of 9-year-olds, 8-year-olds under 9s.
Took him out, mate. Scored a goal from the halfway line. Mate, my lungs were burning. I got so excited. I just didn't stop running for 10 minutes. I was like everywhere. I finished. My legs were in bits. I was like, you know when your airways just burn because you're trying to suck the oxygen in. Mate, I was dead.
Robbie Savage style tackles, eh? Waist height.
Holding kids off like this, elbows up.
Was you tender on the feet on the corners? You trying to step on the toes?
One of the lads is absolutely deadly, mind. He's unbelievable. Real good. And he was at my ankles. I was like, you little, I was trying to hold him off. He was brilliant. But we got back to the car and Gabe was like, you okay, Dad? I was like bent. I was doubled over like this. I basically sprinted for 10 minutes.
Oh, I've got well, on that note, we'll end it there, but I've got my I'm prepping because my daughter starts school now this year. So you know what that means. Next July, you know what's coming. Only Father's Sports Day. Race, mate. Yep. Only Sports Day.
Mate, you got it. I tell you what, the first one I remember
the first one you did.
I told you, didn't I?
Yeah.
Mate, I was like, Beth was like, you gonna do it? I was like, yeah. I've seen all the dads line up and blah blah blah. There was a couple of older dads than me, so I didn't want to like go flat out, like just take it really seriously. So we're all lining up. Mate, they went out the traps. I was like, right, boom, and I just opened up, literally shot past him right on the line.
It's just, oh God, I hope they don't do it because I just think, God, what if I lose? I'm setting a mindset for the rest of my life. Dad's loser.
Get those hamstrings and low back strong. Stretch.
Yeah, I've been down the track already.
Everything is dialed in for this one race per year.
Everything. Nutrition's going to be right.
Everything.
You know, be like, Dad, you're going to bed? Yeah, it's 6 p.m. But I've got to go to bed. We've got sports day tomorrow.
Mate, just think about it. Your daughter's got bragging rights for a year.
And that's what I mean.
That's what it's all about, mate.
Yeah, it's not a very diverse area, so I'm going on the fast twitch in the half of my Jamaican side. We'll see. Right, thanks everyone for listening. Hopefully it's given you a few smiles and laughs, but also some good pointers and takeaways as well. Just to let you know, we planned this for probably about 15 minutes shorter than what it was. But hey, that's what happens when we get jibber-jabbering.
Like, this is important, Gav. There's loads of people running. I've seen someone go arse over tit this morning. We need to make sure people are all right.
That's all. We care. And just, there's only one last thing I picked up on, Gav, that when you're going out in your car looking at your 3-mile route, I mean, it's not good for the environment, is it? Your carbon footprint. No, but it was, I mean, it's people like you that used to do that that's probably got us in this mess. So, you know, now 2022, my advice is that you go and walk the route. Gavin's obviously in Wales, they've got more air and, you know, fields.
I'm making up for it now, mate. I'm training at my home. My office is in my house. I haven't moved anywhere for 2 years.
Yeah, true.
I think I'm sorted.
At least you're not sending a rocket into space to look at nothing. And that's going to absolutely cane the environment, surely. So if someone can tell me why sending a rocket to the moon just to, or to another planet to look at it is more beneficial than actually getting us out of an environmental climate problem that we've got, please let answer on a postcard. Unless a rocket goes on like, I don't know, apple juice, and that it's not.
You'll get people going, yeah, but that's the planet we're going to move to once this one destroys itself. That's what.
The time that happens, this one's long gone. Trust me. Yeah. Anyway, that's my opinion. Right, let's end it there before we get onto the government. Thanks everybody in Wales for listening as well. Thank you all. All right.
So, mate, I'll speak to you soon.
Yes, Gav. Thanks, mate.